what is excellencism?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Excellencism can be seen as a counterpoint to perfectionism. So one way of looking at it, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to look at to give you some words associated with it. So one of the first thing we did is we jumped into dictionaries and look at the synonym and all of the wordings that can be used to define excellence versus perfection. And that gave us kind of a lexical analysis to be able to create indicators to separate the two. So excellence, basically, you're going to find words such as very good, competent, accomplished, very productive, skillful, high quality, successful, great, capable. So people who strive and aim toward these types of endpoints where the goals and the standards are high, they're demanding, but they're attainable and they're realistic, and people know when to stop. So they're not going to be pursuing that in a relentless manner. When it's good enough, it's good enough. So that would be kind of the analogy of an excellence strivers. They know when to stop because when it's good enough, it's good enough. The counterpoint to that is the typical perfectionism, where you're going to have words such as excessive, exaggerated, extreme, needless, strict, overdone, overmuch, too much, undue, unreasonable, exactedness, faultiness, flawless, ideal, demanding, error-free, impeccable. And then you go into a territory where more and more these things are not attainable and they are not sustainable. Once in a while, you may get close to one of these criteria, but on a daily basis, 7 days in a row, it's almost impossible to be impeccable 24/7 in everything that you're doing. So if that's your goal, you're more likely someone who is going to be a perfection striver than an excellence striver. So that's one way of making the distinction between the two. So excellence strivers represents people who are aiming and striving toward demanding, high, but realistic and attainable standard in a relatively flexible manner. And as soon as you cross the line, which is, I would say it's a proverbial line because we don't know with extreme precision and laser-like precision where to draw the line between the two. But the more you move into the more extreme, then you tend to become someone who goes into a zone of perfection striving more than excellence striving.
There was this, again, we spoke about it just before we hit record, that Dr. Gordon Flett had presented in the conversation we'd had the idea of being a adaptable perfectionist and rigid perfectionist. Mm-hmm. And from what I've read through excellencism, I would have thrown adaptable in one of those excellent synonyms, because you think about, again, I just put this in the context of say a golfer, right? A golfer is a really good analogy. You could play the Masters or you could play the British Open. On 4 days, there could be 4 different sets of conditions. The first day could be no wind, sunny, just creme de la creme day for golf. Yeah. And you go and shoot 10 under. And Scotty Scheffler has gone out, shot 10 under, right? You turn up the next day, cloudy, gale force winds. You probably can't get to 10 under. So it's the idea of being adaptable in the pursuit of excellence, pursuit of those goals, of whatever excellence is on the day. And for me, it just, as soon as I was reading, I just thought, this is nailing on the head what I wish I had when I was a pro, because I was going out for so much perfection that it will never be enough. I'll never, even if whatever I achieve, it'll just never be enough. But actually recognizing, like, what does today need from me? What is my version of excellence? And kind of from a bigger perspective, what does my version of success look like today?
Yeah, I think adaptability is an outcome I would say a cognitive behavioral outcome of excellencism, where because of their way of envisioning their goals and defining success, excellence strivers are going to be exactly as you described them. They're going to take what the day has to offer. Regardless of what it is, they're going to try to make the best, the most out of it. So if you play on, as you said, on a Thursday British Open opening round in pristine condition, you're going to try to shoot as low as you can. And then next day, if you go there and the conditions are just miserable, you know that probably an even par is going to be the best round of the day. Something around par is going to be great. So you just battle for that and you change your expectation based on it. One thing that I really like about excellencism is that it seems that there is less variability on a daily and a weekly basis of their performance. They're more constant. Again, they're going to be adaptable, but they're able to. I'm going to give you an example of a Tiger Woods I'm not saying he was an excellent driver. I think that Tiger is more of a perfectionist, but when he was at his prime, he was able to transform a 2 or 3 over par into a -2 round because he was just battling, he was accepting mistakes, he was bouncing back. So after making a bogey, he was more likely to make a birdie on the next hole. And he was not accumulating mistakes after mistake after mistakes. So one of the strengths of the excellence drivers is that they're able to really compartmentalize their behaviors and their achievement. So they're going to play one shot at a time. They're going to throw one pitch at a time. And they're just going to focus on the moment instead of dwelling and beating themselves up based on what they've just did. And they will not look too far ahead because they know that things are likely to change. And the only thing you can really control, like we all always say, is the next 2 seconds that are laying in front of you. The rest is just too far to be worried of. That doesn't mean that they don't plan. They do plan, but I think that they are able to adjust their plan based on the condition and what life and the game is giving them in terms of opportunities.
I read it and I definitely thought that perfectionism or excellencism against perfectionism is taking the good things and trying to leave behind the concerns, the maladaptive behaviors. So my question would be, how do we take someone from a perfectionistic mindset to an excellencist mindset without them feeling like they're leaving something behind?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And just before answering this one, and if I forget, just repeat the question. You're right about the fact that excellence strivers is about taking in the positives. We, again, with Ben at the University of Manitoba, Ben does a lot of study on savoring. And it's important when you succeed because success is never guaranteed, you know. It's something that may happen today and then you get injured or what's going to happen. It might end just like that. So it's important to savor your success, to take in the positive, and to celebrate your achievement with people around you who cares about yourself and your career. And perfection strivers tends not to savor. They feel like savoring is a sign of weakness, of complacency. And it's not just savoring after winning a big tournament. It's just ongoingly savoring during a round, just tapping yourself on the shoulder and saying positive things to you instead of, again, always beating yourself up. So perfection strivers are not savoring their achievement. And this has a lot of, because it's never good enough. So what they're going to do, they're going to raise the bar in hope that if they do better next time, they're going to feel good about themselves. But then they realize next time that they're doing better, but it's still not enough. So they raise the bar. And eventually it's kind of a eternal infernal loop where you will never be satisfied because the criteria and your way of defining yourself is biased. It's unrealistic, and it's based on things that are just not sustainable and realistic. So how do we go from being a perfectionist to being an excellent striver? If I go clinically first, like there's a very interesting study that was done by Grieve and his colleague from Australia. They're the creators of cognitive behavioral training for perfectionists. So they identified perfectionists, and they deliver psychoeducational training online or in person through workshops to try to transform perfectionism into non-perfectionism, which is where the MEP comes in, the model of perfectionism and excellism comes in to say, well, we need to be cautious here not to transform perfection strivers into slackers. That's not what we want. You know, you want to have people who aim for high, demanding, ambitious goals, but without versing into the negativity associated with perfectionism. So in their program, they talk about the difference between excellence and perfection, about realistic and unrealistic standards. And they try to have perfectionists realize that one of their biggest challenge is to stop defining themselves based on their success. They are people. They are individuals before being performers. So creating new priorities, stopping sacrificing your social life, your leisure, your hobbies for the pursuit of your work or professional goals, striking balance between everything is the type of things that they're working on in their cognitive behavioral treatment to try to have people moving away from perfectionism to become excellence strivers. So we recently reanalyzed some of their data, and we published an article on it. And what we found is that based on their treatment, both perfectionism and excellencism tends to be reduced, but the reduction in perfectionism is much higher than the reduction in excellencism. So we don't transform perfectionist in non-perfectionist. We transform perfectionist into something that is alike what we define as an excellence strivers in the model of excellencism and perfectionism.
How long did that therapy, as an average, how long would that therapy go for, and maybe the intervention?
It's typically 6 to 8 modules of about 30 to 45 minutes each that people do self-paced on their own, or it can be guided by someone who's there to facilitate, but it's not something very long. And in most of the study, unfortunately, people don't go through the entire program. So they're going to do a few modules. They won't do the 6 or the 8 modules. And even if they don't complete everything, the effects of the program on reduction of perfectionism is still there. What I would like to see, and that's something that we're working on right now in my lab, is there's a huge movement in psychology now that's called the WISE psychological intervention, where the goal is to create interventions that are seamless, that are not invasive, that people are informed and without necessarily being aware that they are part of an intervention. So for example, as they complete a questionnaire, people are going to be asked to complete little exercises to reflect on their tendencies and to give them also options to modify these tendencies. And the thing I like about it is that from a universal prevention standpoint, you don't have to wait for people coming knocking at your door to tell you I'm a perfectionist and I need help. You can reach out to a very large sample of, let's say, 3,000 participants, and they're going to be informed about the differences between excellencism and perfectionism, and they're going to be giving tricks to try to incorporate some of the facets of excellencism into their lifestyle and their behaviors. And then you follow them up and you try to see if it created positive change in their lives. And I feel like, I like clinical psychology because I'm a psychologist by training. But with mental health crisis right now and the needs and the limited availability of resources and service providers, we need to have other types of intervention that can be launched to reach as many people as we can before they actually develop problems associated with perfectionism.
Hello, you legend. If you've enjoyed this video, then you might enjoy this video right here, which is the full unedited episode. Go on, head up to it. Up there. Go. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any new videos. I'll see you soon.